Boker Tov, Shalom Lekulam. Good morning to everyone. I hope that my speech will be as exciting as these projects that have already been presented by the previous speaker and those movies that were just talked about. It's great to be here in Tel Aviv. We arrived with El Salvador's delegation on Sunday, and it has been great to be here. It has been a very productive adventure. We haven't stopped meeting with private sector representatives, universities, government officials, and we're going back to El Salvador totally inspired of what we're seeing and thinking even bigger of dreaming bigger than what we were before coming to this country. As I was mentioning to some people, I had the opportunity to talk before this session. I can feel the positive vibe in the air. I can see the innovation everywhere I go, and we're hoping to learn a lot from Israeli experience. There is actually a long-standing relationship and a relationship of friendship between Israel and El Salvador. Two countries with a lot of similarities and maybe more than what we would have thought of. El Salvador is almost as the same size as Israel. The size of our territories are very similar. And we both have the beautiful access to the ocean and the maritime ports. The size of our population actually is very similar to the population in Israel, and something very important is that for both countries, we see our people as being our main asset. Also, we have a large diaspora living and working very hard around the world. We have both countries, as I perceive it, very resilient, creative, and very, very, very hardworking citizens. Also, I hear there's a passion on surfing. We actually currently in El Salvador, we have a delegation of Israeli surfers that are participating in one of the biggest competitions of surf in the world currently taking place in El Salvador. And something very important, and something that I'm very proud to say, and something that a year ago no one would have imagined, the two countries are now at the forefront of innovation. Israel, of course, for its long-term, strong commitment to innovation and technology as a catalyst for productivity through the startup nation. And El Salvador, as you all know, specifically for being at the forefront of a technological, financial innovation front with its recent adoption of Bitcoin as its second legal tender. And why adopt Bitcoin? That's a question that I hear often, as you can all imagine. For a lot of you, and maybe for all of you, that might be a very straightforward and obvious response. For us, in a country with the largest part of the population without access to financial services, such as savings, credit, payments, it was very important to take transformational measures in order to make sure that all the population, including our most vulnerable population, have access to new opportunities through the access to these products: savings, remittances, credit, and payment platforms. And this is why, with the leadership, vision, and determination of President Bukele, we were able to push the innovation frontier in the financial sector. And now El Salvador is positioned in the world for a positive, element, not like it was before. I'm talking about El Salvador that before was looked at for being the country with the least economic growth, the country that didn't have a business climate that was favorable for businesses, a country with large levels of insecurity. But now, thanks to the vision, determination, and leadership of President Nayib Bukele, we are now seeing a completely different reality in El Salvador. Also, we recognize the potential for attracting new businesses in El Salvador, and I'll share a little bit more about what is it that we're seeing in a very short period of time. Also, we identify the big potential of bringing investment to El Salvador in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, but also in various sectors that I'm going to share in a little bit. And also, very important, we saw potential of bringing more tourism to El Salvador, which is one of our most strategic sectors and one that have very important effects and a positive impact in the most vulnerable populations in El Salvador. So 9 months in, after adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender, what are the results? What are we seeing? I remember people asking me a week before Bitcoin started being a legal tender back in September. They were like, so what's happening in El Salvador? And things don't happen that fast. But I have to say that the impact for El Salvador the positive impact for El Salvador started happening as soon as President Bukele announced that Bitcoin was going to be a legal tender in El Salvador. That's when El Salvador's, in the mindset of many people around the world, started changing. But going into more concrete results in a very short period of time, and through the use of e-wallets that have been put out in the market, one of them put out by the government, but others that have also been put out by the private sector, including the largest bank in El Salvador. Now El Salvador's population, including the most vulnerable one, has now the possibility to accumulate wealth. And in the case of small merchants, and this is something that it's really impactful, small merchants in small towns, in remote areas in El Salvador, they have now access to payment platforms that, as you all know, they would have never had otherwise have access. Some have now digital reports that they can access through their phones with information about their purchases, their sales, and they have these records in a similar way that a multinational company have always, or for a long time, had it. On the other hand, I'm very happy to share with you that more than 45 companies have registered and are in El Salvador, have established in El Salvador, and now are part of our Bitcoin ecosystem. Again, for a small country like El Salvador, with an stagnated economy for decades, having more than 45 companies established in El Salvador in such a very short period of time, that it's something really amazing. These companies are implementing projects in different areas. We have companies creating digital wallets, providing custodial services, exchanges services, payment solutions, smart contracts, and among other companies that are currently being established in El Salvador. It's interesting to see that some of these companies are looking El Salvador as a place to test their products in order to later take them to Central America, Latin America, and other regions. Similar to Israel, El Salvador has a small market, and therefore El Salvador is being seen as a place to taste products for later, when they prove to be successful, they're taking it to other parts of the world. Today, these companies and their founders come to El Salvador inspired by the vision of President Bukele from countries like Estonia, Egypt, Singapore, Sweden, United States, Argentina, and Guatemala. And of course, we hope to see Israel in the list of countries establishing in El Salvador shortly. In terms of new investments, which was one of the reasons why Bitcoin was adopted as a legal tender, three of the main sectors where we're seeing more and more concrete projects happening, but also a great interest are the tourism sector, the energy sector, and the real estate sector. In terms of tourism, we're seeing hotels, a lot of interest and hotels being already constructed, and also real estate. We see projects where apartments are already being sold when the project hasn't even started to being built, something that we would have never thought a year ago. But in tourism, we're seeing interest in hotels, resorts, and recreational centers and parks. Again, something that unfortunately, we haven't seen in El Salvador for decades. We have seen interest in the energy sector, including the geothermal, natural gas, solar, and wind energy. And in real estate, like I mentioned, both commercial and residential. And finally, in terms of tourism, we are seeing increases already, and this happened very shortly after Bitcoin was adopted. We see that there have been significant increases in the sales of local businesses, people that come and pay in Bitcoin. And this is a proven phenomenon that we have seen in the coast of the country, namely our surf city, that I'm hoping a lot of you can make it and be able to see it with your own eyes. So with all this that has happened in El Salvador, we're now building on El Salvador's new position in innovation. And we're working towards becoming an innovation and digital hub. We know that this is it's easy to say, but it means a lot of work, especially from the government perspective, given that in the past, not much or maybe nothing happened in terms of innovation and the creation of talent in the technology sector. But we have all the energy, passion, and commitment in order to create these labor force that respond to the demand of the technological market. We're also eliminating all the red tape that for many years was the main barrier to economic growth in El Salvador. We're also digitalizing government services related to trade and investment. We're fostering an innovation culture based on research and development, and developing an enabling legal framework that will facilitate not only trade and investment, but also migration. I'm also happy to announce that we're working in order to provide companies with the best incentives that they can get in any country. And soon we're going to be sending to Congress 2 laws that we believe are going to have a triggering effect in our economy, which is a startup law, which will promote the establishment of startups, incubators, accelerators, new financing mechanisms, and a regulatory sandbox. And also, we're working on a mega investment law aimed at attracting new companies in our sectors, in strategic sectors in El Salvador. All these efforts to make El Salvador a nation where successful local and foreign startups are born and are able to grow. We also believe El Salvador, and we have proven it already, El Salvador can be the host of companies that are part of the crypto ecosystem, but also a country where companies can provide tech outsourcing of software development and other technological services. This is already happening in El Salvador. Local companies growing very fast, providing technological services, not only locally, but also internationally. Also, we believe we have the conditions so that companies can test and leverage artificial intelligence to create solutions in the public and the private sector. So I invite you all to be part of El Salvador's transformation and benefit from everything that I shared before, but also from its strategic location that easily connects us with the rest of the world, the special incentive regimes that already exist and the ones that we're currently creating, a green and diversified energy matrix with more than 80% of annual production coming from renewable energies, and of all the opportunities ahead generated by the adoption of Bitcoin, including our future and exciting Bitcoin City. I thank you so much for your attention, and I hope to see you very soon in El Salvador, not only surfing, but hopefully doing great business in the Bitcoin industry. Toda Rabba.